Mike, can you hear me? Hi everyone. Today I'm here to talk about easy harvest and seaweed blooms. Growing up in Portugal, we would always be in Portuguese. We would all go to the beach. We would find seaweed everywhere. But I didn't know that by the time that I would be here today, I would be creating my own business with my own with the Portuguese resource. Can I? Did it change? No, sorry. A couple of years ago, with the rise of anthropogenic pressure and with the rise of invasive seaweed species, situations like the ones we are showcasing here now in Portugal, in southern Spain and southern Europe have been rising and globally. We call them seaweed blooms. Most of its biomass has been completely wasted and damages completely biodiversity, which has a huge impact on coastal communities, namely on locations dependent on tourism and fisheries. But what if we could use this resource and turn it into a valuable, raw material? We know that there's several types of seaweed we can use farmed and so on, but there's new emergent markets that will need more biomass to meet the new sustainable measures that we are aiming, at least in Europe, like the biomaterials, like we heard today. Thank you. Feed, of course, textiles, even textile dyes. However, the current production levels cannot meet the demand that is projected for 2030. Hence, we've created Easy Harvest, which has the aim to build a sustainable supply chain to mitigate the negative impacts of these seaweed blooms and create value from what was once before called waste. We are providing several activities from where we data mine, we monitor these blooms to understand where and why and where are they going, so that we can harvest them and later on have two different simultaneous revenue streams, which we call cleanup services, bioremediation for local governance, because they have a great deal of an impact with all these logistics, and raw material for the emerging sector. In terms of our roadmap, these ideas began post-COVID, but our proofs of concept went down in 2023 when we were the first company in Portugal obtaining a pioneer license to harvest and commercialize the invasive seaweed species that we have in the country, and probably we're also one of the few or the only one in Europe able to do so. We are looking now for a pre-seed round to scale up our harvesting facilities and commodities to reach some offset agreements, build a seaweed factory by 2025 to supply, and by 2026 use our data to build a global bloom predictor so that we can supply blooms everywhere globally. So if you want to build a sustainable supply chain and harness the power of the blooms, with Easy Harvest, nothing will be lost, nothing will be gained, but everything will be transformed. But nothing would also be possible without our team, which is me and my colleague Emilia, and without you. We need you to accomplish this kind of mission, otherwise the impact will be just too great of a deal. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Francisco. I have one practical question. You mentioned that you were actually the first company to have to be recognized as being able to collect the seaweed in the shores. Or anyone can collect it.
No, what I think I said was.
Sorry.
That's okay. This specific species that you're seeing in the build is called Rugolopteryx. It's one of the major invasive species in southern Europe, and we are the first company being able to commercialize and harvest. So we have a deal with our government, and we are playing a back-to-back with them so that we can fund.
Okay, so what? So it's possible that more companies are gonna rely on the same source. So how can you, even though you are trying to predict the blooms and to get raw materials, have a model that can help you to get the source of your material? If more companies join in, how are you going to get the source for your product?
Well, this brings us back to our monitoring. Our monitoring is a data mining system where we record presence, absence, where the seaweed are and why. Using this type of system, we can create later on a software which is projected from 26 onwards, after we get enough revenues from the market that is now asking demanding for biomass, so that we can target all the seaweed blooms. As you know, the case of the sargassum problem is too big for the current solutions that exist. It is exactly the same problem that we have today in Portugal. And I take this opportunity to raise this same question. And I think it's about values. We are associating our company to companies and partners from which they are here today as well, that have really concrete values on what is sustainability and with what they want to associate with. And that's exactly perhaps what will distinguishes us from others. This biomass is much more resourceful than just doing one line of extraction. We want to help foster these biorefinery concepts, and we want to help build the supply chains for which they have tremendous problems to build. So this is our focus. It's in there.
Thank you, Francisco. A couple of questions.
Yes.
So the monitoring of blooms or prediction of blooms is not a revenue source. It won't be a revenue source of revenues for you besides the two other sources of revenues.
Is that a question?
That's a question.
Is that a question? Well, today we did find some companies interested in using this monitoring, this vertical, let's call it like that if you want, or revenue stream. Yeah. So it potentially can turn into that. So the scalability of this software can literally go global as there's seaweed blooms impacting.
Of course, by doing that, by turning that into a source of revenues, you may be helping your competitors because you'd be telling your competitors when the blooms will appear, right?
Potentially,
right.
Yes.
Then another question. Can you tell us more about what it takes? I mean, what's the upstream effort of harvesting all seaweeds throughout the country or the world or the continent? What human, financial, logistic, bureaucratic effort lies behind that?
Well, today I can say that at least in Portugal, the governance that we are working with, DGRM, they are really supporting our cause. They're helping these gray areas with new emerging technology sectors. They want to see what is possible. So we all started with an environmental impact study, done with partnership with University of the Algarve and then with them to figure this part out. But I'm sorry, I just got lost from your question.
My question is, what kind of effort, not just bureaucratic,
the logistical part,
logistic, human, financial? It sounds like a big effort, right, to go around the world or the country harvesting.
We're using
seaweed.
upstream technologies, namely seaweed pumps, different types of technologies that are currently being deployed and used across the world. They are already here. We're testing them, using them today in the Algarve to harvest so, and we can couple with the fishing community. We're trying to develop some type of IP model, some type of model that couples with the fishermen boats, for example, and we can help like that to increase our carrying capacity, harvesting capacities, and so on. It's a matter more of seaweed logistics, and I believe that it's about networking. But yeah,
All right,
thank
thanks.
you.